How long is a piece of string? Well, it's a little bit like asking what is a decent swim time for triathlon. And that is what I am attempting to do today, to give you an idea of what a decent swim time would be depending on what event you're aiming for. If we start with the shortest triathlon swimming distance, ignoring relays, then that's a super sprint, which is 400 meters. And if we were to look at the world record long course, the men's are an incredible 3 minutes 40 seconds, the women 3 minutes 55, which equates to 55 and 58.7 per 100 meters. A little bit ridiculous. And I thought to look at the other end of the spectrum, we could start by taking a closer look at what the cutoff times are for the swims in various distances of triathlon. So typically for a sprint distance, it's 30 minutes, and then an Olympic distance, it's 60 minutes. 70.3 is 1 hour 10, and then a long distance triathlon or Ironman is 2 hours 20. Now that equates to 4 minutes per 100 for the sprint and Olympic distances, and 3 minutes 41 per 100 for half and full iron distance. So let's go somewhere in the middle to find out that average predicted time. It would sit somewhere between a 145 per 100 to a 210 per 100 across the full board of all the triathlon distances. And there's actually been someone who's done a little bit of research and found that if you took the average for the men and the women across all distances of triathlon, the average swim time sits at 2:04 per 100 meters. So if we've got the average, but we want to find the good, then I would say that a good swim time is going to be 140 per 100 or under. Now, interestingly, if you take that 140 per 100 pace and put it at a full Ironman distance, that gives you a 1 hour, 3 minute swim time, which I think you'd agree is a good swim time. And that same pace would equate to 25 minutes for an Olympic distance triathlon swim. I mean, I could sit here all day saying what I think is a good or an average swim time, but realistically, there are so many other factors that come into play. And at the end of the day, you basically want to swim as fast and efficiently as possible for you. And it's worth noting that even though the average times we talked about accompanying men and women together, there is a slight difference that men on average are a little bit quicker than women, but that gap is much smaller in the swim than it is compared to the bike and the run. And that's in part due to the fact that women have a slightly higher body fat percentage. And as a result, we just naturally get a better body position in the waters. And then you've got the external factors, and they can blow away any average or predicted time. Take the water itself. If it's a sea swim, it could be choppy or have big waves. There could be currents. It will depend on the type of entry and the exit as well. On the plus side, the sea is more buoyant than a lake or fresh water. If it's cold, then you'll have the bonus of that wetsuit adding buoyancy. There are some events, for example, that simply take swimmers downstream, and Chattanooga is a really famous one for that, where the athletes start higher up in the river and you get out further down, and that will obviously make a huge difference to the predicted time. The same goes with depending on who you're swimming with, and that's a little bit more variable, but if you've got some other swimmers that are similar pace or a bit quicker, you can get on their feet. Yes, that involves some skill, but that can also affect your time. But if you're wanting to know what a good time is, then the best way for you to find out is actually to look at your own age group and at a race that maybe you're targeting, and then look at the past results. But it is worth checking what the conditions were like so you can really compare it truly. Well, finally, you need to remember that a triathlon does not end at the swim. And if you want to have an overall good time, then yes, you need to be competitive in the swim, yet you don't want to be getting out exhausted. And that leads us on to training and looking at how that's going to correlate to your work that you're going to do in the pool. And it's worth noting here that pool times do not correlate exactly to open water times and vice versa. And in fact, it will obviously depend to a certain extent on conditions, but some swimmers will translate more closely than others. And that's just going to be something you're going to have to work out yourself. But let's play it safe and say that on average, your time in the pool is going to be 2 to 5 seconds per 100 faster than your time in open water. So you need to translate back from your target race time in open water and work out what that's going to correlate to, so you can work it out for your workouts that will be mostly pool-based. Now, let's say you're aiming for a full distance triathlon, so you've got to swim 3.8K. Now, a tough but realistic swim set would be trying to do 3 sets or 3 blocks of 10 100s at that target race pace, the calculated one, with just 10 seconds rest between each 100. And yes, it'll be hard, but it'll give you a bit of an idea. Now, if you have absolutely no idea what time you might be targeting or where you're at, then you probably need to do a critical swim speed test. And this is a really simple yet hard test of swimming 400 meters as hard as you can, having a big rest, and then 200 meters as hard as you can, taking the times from both of those and inputting them into an online calculator, and that will give you your predicted race pace. But if you want a whole video on that, we've done one, so go and check that out if you need a bit more detail. Now, if you've gone and done that test and the number that comes out is far off where you want it to be, well, don't panic, because GTN are here to help. We have numerous swimming videos on technique to endurance to giving you some ideas for structure. So if you're not yet a subscriber, now is the perfect time to go and hit that globe and subscribe to our channel. Well, hopefully this has been helpful, and if so, we'd love it if you showed your appreciation with a like. Good luck with your swim training.